All right, welcome back to the NFL Draft Preview Show. Larry Krueger with you on this Saturday as we get you ready for the 2025 NFL Draft. And who better to talk draft with than, I think, the best college football analyst in the Bay for years and years, and that's Todd Husak. And Todd will be part of the KNBR draft coverage with JD and Pop from the steps outside the Niner War Room on Thursday night, when we have our first round coverage. And of course, I'll be taking your calls after the coverage, trying to make sense of whatever the Niners did. Todd is with us now on the Yuma guest line to chop it up and talk about the draft in advance. Todd, always good to see you and talk to you. And we're fired up to have you on KNBR on draft night. It's a great decision by Mike Holler to have a guy with your knowledge and expertise, on our coverage for this incredible night. And it's a big night for John Lynch. Maybe one of the biggest nights in the Lynch and Shanahan regime, as far as, the Niners have a bunch of needs. They had a lot of defections in free agency. And John says, hey, we got a plan, and we're going to try to execute it. And it starts on Thursday night. And it's a crucial draft for the 49ers, especially if they have, designs on being competitive this year.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Last year was a lot of fun getting to interview John Lynch and Coach Shanahan right afterward and get their takes on Ricky Pearsall and see how that first round unfolded. And then now here we are a year later to see some of the careers of those guys, how they've started. A guy like Jaden Daniels, who, going back to last year, I think Caleb Williams was the consensus number one. And then there was a lot of different opinions on the next two or three guys. And turns out Jaden Daniels was incredible. What a rookie season he had. And then Bo Nix, a guy that sneaks into the first round and becomes, I think, one of the better top half quarterbacks in the NFL, and has a chance to get a lot better. So it's such a fascinating night. We were just talking about all the things that go into a team's draft, their needs, how they view that talent, how talented is that player, even if it's not a position of need. If he's exceptional, do you take him? What's the gap between this guy available and the next player available, or how deep is that position? All of those things go into making a draft very compelling, television and radio.
No question. And the Niners obviously have the 11th pick. They have 11 picks overall, but their first pick is 11th overall. And there's been some speculation that they may be choosing here between Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan and Texas A&M defensive end Shamar Stewart. If that is indeed the case, do you have a preference between the two of them?
Well, Nolan's a big body, 6'4", 300. And as you look at the teams that have been successful, and you look at what the Eagles were able to do last year, and their offense took on a different dynamic with Saquon Barkley, but really that the defense was what carried them through some of the tough games. When their offense had a slow start or wasn't producing, the defense made plays and made it tough on quarterbacks, made it tough on the run game. I think the Niners have drafted a lot of defensive linemen over the last 6 or 7 years. Not all of them have been top-tier pro starters, really, in the NFL. But I think if you can find a run stuffer, a guy that can create problems on the interior, Nolan seems to be that guy.
There's a lot of speculation that the 49ers may have some interest, significant interest in Oluwafemi Oladejo, the former Cal Bear stacked linebacker who, played stacked linebacker and then went to UCLA. And with Schlesinger there, they moved him to defensive end, and he took to it absolutely beautifully this year. And then Oladejo went and looked really good in Mobile, and I think kind of won over KJ Wright and maybe some of the Niner people. There's been some reports that the Niners really like him on day 2, that they may want, they may look at 43 as a reach, but they may not feel that he'll be there at 75. What do you think of the former Cal Bear and the former UCLA Bruin, Oluwafemi Oladejo?
Well, I think both the players you mentioned for UCLA have a chance to be early second rounders. I think it's a fascinating draft because there's really top 10 talent. And then is there a huge difference between pick 17 and pick 55?
I don't think
and there's so many players that you look at on their tape that can come in and be starters. So again, it goes back to positions of need for the 49ers. Certainly linebacker with Dre Greenlaw gone is one. And is this a guy that can come in? He's versatile. Oladejo, can he come in and contribute on that stack linebacker or rush the passer. I think having that versatility on the defensive side is something that NFL coaches love because of injuries. That's another important component of this draft. Is you look at the top, call it 30, 40 players, almost half of them have missed significant time either during their last season in college or since the end of the season. Guys have gotten nicked up. And so how do you evaluate guys coming off injuries? How productive can they be at the next level? How ready are they to come in and produce and produce right away? When you're picking somebody near the top or middle of the second round, you're hoping those guys can come in and contribute early.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's role play here. I'll ask the questions. You be Brock Purdy. Okay.
Okay.
You're looking for a receiver. You have Juwan Jennings. You have Ricky Pearsall. You have Ayuk, who may not be back until maybe November, and you're not really sure what he's going to be when he is back. You have Demarcus Robinson. You have Jacob Cowing, who's kind of your deep speed. You have Terrell Owens' son, who they have a lot of, they're encouraged by his development. You also have Isaiah Hodgins, who went to Berean High School out here in Walnut Creek and is a big possession receiver who played in the Pac-12 at Oregon State, played with the New York Giants. You have Trent Taylor. You also have a veteran sticking around right now in the meantime in Russell Gage Jr. What kind of receiver do you want, Brock? I mean, how essential? It's funny. I've asked Shanahan this question a few times, but as a quarterback, I'll ask it to you. I asked him, how essential is it to have a vertical threat? And Kyle's like, it means everything. And because it creates all the space and everybody knows what everybody runs. And if you got that vertical threat, you got a lot more space. So I'm looking at this Niner core and I'm going, well, unless you take out Jacob Cowing, who's 175 pounds and didn't do a whole lot in his rookie year, there is no vertical speed to speak of here at all. So I would say the 49ers really could use a vertical threat receiver. Is there a receiver that you want, Brock? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I've watched McMillan on tape, and I know he's not necessarily the deep threat. He doesn't have that burner speed, that 4.3 speed where he can just run by any corner in the NFL. He is very complete. He's got incredible hands, strong. He can high point it, volleyball background. He can jump. I think what stands out about him, really good receivers tend to have spatial awareness. Right? They know where the defender is. They know how to use their bodies to create space and separation. They can high point the ball, and then they can break tackles after making that reception because they know where the defenders are coming from. I've really been impressed by what I've seen from McMillan on tape. If you're looking for speed, I think Golden has that. They get Matthew Golden out of Texas. He ran the 4.3, maybe 4.29 at the combine. I mean, he's straight line fast, but does he have the size and the ability to make people miss at the net? Like I watched Xavier Worthy and his tape, and we all remember what he did at the combine last year, running like 4.26 or something like that. He didn't make a lot of guys miss. The first guy brought him down a lot. So straight line speed is certainly a component of being a good wide receiver. But I agree, creating that space with taking off the top, taking the safeties deep, and opening that underneath for Kittle or the underneath receivers is important and a critical piece. But I'd rather have a complete wide receiver. And I think McMillan, from what I've seen, is the best of the bunch. Luther Burden out of Missouri he has that type of quickness and speed. I think he's been impressive from the tape that I've seen. And then Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, he's talented as well. But the ones that I've watched, I think Tate McMillan stands out as the number one.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the first round guys. I mean, McMillan is, got unbelievable ball skills and leaping ability, and he's just really, really impressive. Golden, as you said, is the fastest of the bunch. Luther Burden essentially may play the fastest. It seems like he's the guy that can kind of stack the safety and just keep going. Egbuka, I think, is probably the most polished. I think he's probably the guy that could come in week one and look like a 3 or 4 year veteran because he's just very smooth.
Yeah.
Everything about him is smooth in and out of the breaks. So those, I think, are the round one receivers. The round two receivers may include Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, Jalen Knoll, who I think is fantastic from Iowa State, Trey Harris from Ole Miss. And then there's some other guys as well that are pretty interesting.
Io Manor?
Well, I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah.
So I went to the local pro day, and Manor was there, and he wasn't playing. He wasn't a Niner jersey. Lynch spent a lot of time talking to him. Then he passed him off to the wide receiver coach, Leonard Hankerson, who seemed to talk to him for a long time. I mean, if you were asking me based on what the pro days that I've been to, what my takeaway is that Manor is going to be a Niner. I don't know why. I don't know that I would take him in the third round. In fact, I'm pretty sure I would not because of the blown out knee, and I don't see tons of separation between him and the defender in any of the highlights that I saw. But he is big. He is fast. He's a great kid. He went to high school at that always known football powerhouse, Deerfield Academy, where he probably wore a blazer to school every day. And their big game was against Phillips Exeter.
There you go.
And everybody on the team's got probably a 3.95 GPA or higher. But what do you think of Manor? You saw him at Stanford, and he's definitely big. He's 6'2". He's 210 pounds, but I don't know that he separates, and that is my concern. What do you think of him?
Well, I think he was underutilized at Stanford. I think he had the ability to be one of the top receivers in the country if he's put in a system that highlight. By the way, we haven't even talked about Travis Hunter, who I think is far and away the best wide receiver in the draft. I mean, that guy. Sure. You watch Shedeur Sanders. The one thing that stands out about Shedeur Sanders is Travis Henry. Excuse me, is oh my gosh,
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. Excuse me, I said Travis Henry. Travis Hunter. I mean, he is so good and explosive and quick and fast. And you talk about body control.
He's really smart too.
I mean, he'd be the best receiver in this draft, maybe in last year's draft too. He is a special receiver, and he's probably the top corner coming out as well. But back to Manor, he's got, I think, the skills that you'd like to see. The big, he's not super fast, but he's strong, can win those battles over the middle. I think he's faster than what he showed this year. I think he has the ability to be faster. Again, Stanford didn't ask him to do a lot. They didn't take many shots down the field to him. If I have him on my team, or like Colorado did with Travis Hunter, get him the ball 15 times a game, or try to. He's that type of talent who can take the offense down the field. I think a team would get a very good player, a guy who, like you mentioned, is smart, is athletic. He's going to do the right things. He's going to learn the playbook. He's going to be a guy that coaches can trust to put in early in his career. And have some success if he's in the right system and in the right spot. Maybe that means he's a third wide receiver or even a fourth wide receiver, but he can go over the middle. He can block. He can win 50-50 balls in the air. And then it's up to him to continue to work on that speed and separation. He is a good route runner. Again, I think Stanford's offense didn't do him any favors last year, unfortunately.
If the 49ers had one, let's just say, we'll pick a round here. We'll say fourth round. I'll say the Niners have a fourth round pick to invest in a receiver, and they can have Manor, they can have Kyle Williams from Washington State, they can have Nick Nash from San Jose State, and they can have Tez Johnson from Oregon.
Yeah.
Who would you take? Who would you want? If you can have one of those guys. Tez ran in the low 4.5s, 4.51 at 155 pounds, which is not a very fast time for a very tiny receiver. Yeah. But he also lit up Penn State, who would probably the best defensive team in the country at times. He lit him up for like 11 catches for 181 yards, and he just toyed with them.
Yeah. He's just so slight at 150 pounds. You would think any corner in the NFL is as good as the best corner he faced in college. They're going to get their hands on him, and I think reroute him. Now, he's quick and fast, but I think somebody at that size, it's just hard to trust him to come in and play early. Manor, I think, has the combination of size. By the way, I love Nash. I think a guy who's that productive will find a way. Like you see it all the time. There's a guy like Dane Looker. I don't remember Dane. He was my era. I played with him in NFL Europe. Kid out of Washington, goes there. He went to high school with Brock Heward. One of those guys, he had a pretty good college career at UW, and then goes and plays like 7 years in the NFL. He's that slot guy who can just get open, find a way, get yards after the catch. He's a great blocker. He's a great teammate. Just does those things that coaches love to see. Now, he doesn't have the measurables necessarily, but it's hard to argue with that type of production at the college level. But I think I'd go with the Stanford guy. I think he's got the combination of physical ability, upside. I think he's going to get better. He's still pretty young, and he's a big, strong kid who knows how to play the ball in the air, can go over the middle. He's not afraid. And so I think that combination is something you can look for a guy who's going to come in and maybe be your fourth wide receiver to start the season.
As a former college and NFL quarterback, do you feel that when you're watching prospects, you have a more confidence in your ability to pick receivers, guys that you threw to and should know pretty damn well, at least the essential traits, let's just say, you know all about that? Or do you think you know more and scout better when you're looking at young quarterback prospects?
Well, I think it's been proven nobody knows how to scout quarterback prospects. There's been way too many swings and misses at the NFL level to think you have a finger on the pulse of who's going to be great in the NFL. Hence Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. I think, like, I go back to last year watching the tape. My personal opinion going into last year, and I had still have my notes, I thought Malik Nabers was the best of the group. I thought he was better than Marvin Harrison. He turned out to have a great rookie season on a terrible Giants team. Marvin Harrison showed some flashes, but disappointed just a little bit. And there were some other high-picked wide receivers that I just thought Malik Nabers had it, right? I go back to breaking down the tape. There was one play where I watched the tape of the receivers in one afternoon, and Nabers has the ball, and he's going to the sideline, and he runs the guy over, and he gets like 3 extra yards. And sideline's fired up. He's happy. Marvin Harrison, same play, runs out of bounds with maybe like 4 or 5 yards left before he makes contact. Now, that's a microcosm at a very small sample size, but I think it shows you the attitude of guys. And I think watching the tape and some skill sets that just show up, like I go back and watch McMillan. He just seems to have that smooth athletic ability where he can get in and out of his routes. He gets yards after the catch. He knows where the defenders are. He just seems to have it. Now, I love scouting quarterbacks because that was my position, and I could watch those guys all day. Again, you watch the tape this year. I do think Cam Ward is the best. He just shows everything that you like to see. You talk about production. Was it 156 touchdowns? It's a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
In your college career. Shedeur Sanders,
he's a little reckless. I mean, Cam's a little reckless with the ball, but other than that, I love Cam.
He does have 2 of the worst interceptions I think I've ever seen. Like rolling to his right, nearly falling out of bounds and trying to throw the ball back to the other, like to the left hash. He did it twice last year.
Yeah.
Like that's one a coach has got to be up in the booth just going crazy. Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot to like. I think he's a winner. I played with his dad, Dion. Dion is really, really smart. I don't think people give Dion enough credit for being a very smart person, smart athlete. I think having access to that from birth, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a good NFL quarterback. Jackson Dart stands out to me as the number 2 quarterback in this draft. Watching his tape, he's more athletic than Shedeur Sanders. I think he throws a better ball. I think he sees the field a little better. He's got some moxie to him. You know, he's a guy that I think I wrote down in my notes, my comp with him is Baker Mayfield. Right? He throws a good ball. He's athletic, but he seems to have that ability to rally his team, and guys seem to like playing with him, and he's got a little swagger. I'm excited to see where he ends up. A lot of people are saying New Orleans. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the second quarterback taken in the draft and maybe even higher than number 9 New Orleans.
Quarterbacks are you're totally right. I mean, it's like everybody in football knows a good quarterback when they see one, but they couldn't verbalize exactly what traits are vitally important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw some names at you. And by the way, I'm a big believer in the day 3 quarterback in this draft. I really am. And why?
Yeah.
Because Tanner McKee. Because Tanner McKee is an Eagle, and Tanner McKee eventually is going to be that guy, going to be the guy there. I really believe it. Tanner
Yeah.
McKee's 6'6". He's got a gun. He's accurate. He's a great kid. He's smart as hell. Eventually, Hurts is going to get hurt. They're going to bring in McKee. He's going to light up the world, and he's going to be the guy. I really do believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So I'm just going to throw you the names, and you just give me a yes or a no. Okay? Like yes, they've got an NFL future or as a starter, or no. No will be their backup, or they're just not.
By the way, before you get going on this, if
Okay.
I'm a team, every team should draft a quarterback every year.
I agree. I agree.
Late, because who knows when you get that Brock Purdy or Tanner McKee or somebody who can come in and be the guy that learns, develops, and if he doesn't become that, no harm, no foul. You wasted a 5th round or 6th round pick on him. But on the chance he does become that, it's incredibly valuable, not just to your team, but potentially down the line as teams
Roster
are
building.
always looking for somebody who can come in and start.
Yeah. I mean, if Tanner McKee plays 5 weeks next year and the Eagles decide he's the guy, they now can trade Jalen Hurts,
Right.
which is an incredibly valuable tool. If the Niners draft a day 3 quarterback and that quarterback shows that he's Brock Purdy, they can trade Brock Purdy. So let's just go right down the list, and I'll tell you at the end who I like, but I'll just throw the name, and you just say yes, NFL starter, or no, and that just means he's anything but an NFL starter. All right. You said yes for Cam, yes for Shador, yes for Dart, right? Milrow, Jalen Milrow.
No, not in the first couple of years. He's got to get a lot better with his accuracy. And top tier athlete, not a good passer.
Tyler Shuck.
A lot of people are high on him.
Throws a great ball.
He does throw a good ball. He's a big, strong athlete. Everybody talks about he's turning 26 this season. Yes, I think he can be, but it has to be in the right system.
Quinn Ewers.
Yes, I like him.
Will Howard.
No.
I don't either. Kyle McCord.
No.
Dylan Gabriel.
I think he's interesting. He's intriguing. He throws
5'10".
a great ball. He's athletic. He's a winner. I like him better than a couple of the other guys. Again, it has to be in the right system.
Curtis Rourke.
No.
Max Brosmer from Minnesota.
No.
Cam Miller, North Dakota State.
There's not many guys left on the list that I'd say yes.
Okay. There's a couple down here that I like.
All right, keep going.
Graham Mertz, who was at the local pro day. Some people like him.
No.
Florida.
No.
Seth Hennigan, Memphis.
No.
Brady Cook, Missouri.
I did like his tape, but I mean he threw some good passes. He spread the ball around. I like watching him when I was breaking down Burden, but no.
Peyton Thorne, Auburn. They call him Vanilla Vic.
It's a great nickname. Maybe for that reason he'd stand a chance.
The guy who played 12-man football in Canada, Taylor Elgersma. Have you seen him yet? You should.
I have not watched his tape. No,
go watch
him.
him.
6'6", but I have not watched his tape.
Okay, here's one. Riley Leonard.
He's interesting. Won a lot of games. You know, can he be a guy that kind of sticks around for a few years, learns, better athlete than people give him credit for, good enough passer, you know, in the right system with the right coaching, I think he could stick around.
So of the group, I'll tell you the guys that I really like. I kind of like McCord, but I really like Riley Leonard, and I really like Seth Hennigan. When the Gruden quarterback school thing, And he's sitting there and he's like, okay, this is going to mean right. This is going to mean left. This is going to mean this. This is going to mean that. And he's giving him all these rules. Then he's like, get up on the board, draw it. Then he's like, stand up at the line of scrimmage and call it. And he was just so wowed by Leonard and Hennigan. He's almost got like a photographic memory, but he's very calm, but he's also deadly accurate. He's incredibly accurate. He's very calm, maybe a little too calm, but really, really smart. And Riley Leonard, how about this? Do you remember that quarterback thing where Matt Mayoko hosted it? It was Steve Young, Alex Smith, Purdy, and Garcia.
He flew his way out. I remember hearing about that.
Riley Leonard
asked the question, right?
Riley Leonard went to that and asked the question. I mean, that to me tells me he has a lot of interest right there in being, the craft of being a quarterback.
Yeah. Getting better, understanding. Yeah, I agree.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So I'm a Riley Leonard guy. I kind of MVP of the bowl game. The question I asked Dane Brugler about him, and he said, the question is this: did he hold Notre Dame back because he didn't throw the ball a lot, or did Notre Dame hold him back? And after watching him throw at the combine, I'd have to say Notre Dame held him back.
Yeah, he played a lot of football, won a lot of games in college. I liked what I saw out of him, and he's a tough guy.
He is a tough guy. He'll throw his body around and put it in harm's way. There ain't no doubt about that. Awesome stuff, man. Do you have a draft crush? Somebody that you're like, you know what? There was a scene from Draft Day where Sonny Weaver, played by Kevin Costner, wrote down on a piece of paper, Vontae Mack, no matter what. I joke about it because I was doing a post-draft interview with Harbaugh and Balky after they drafted A.J. Jenkins, and Balky literally pulled that one out, and he's like, Krug, I wrote his name. I wrote A.J. Jenkins' name in an envelope, and I put it in my top drawer, and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, Trent, it's a great story if the guy is awesome, and it's great in the movie. But when the guy can't play dead, I don't care if you sewed his name into a pillow. I really don't care. You're wrong. You're wrong. Is there anybody that you're like, you know what? You're absolutely. It doesn't have to be a day one guy, day two guy. It could be an undrafted free agent. Could be anybody that you like. I'll give you mine. I'm a big Riley Leonard fan, but I'll give you my sleeper day three guy if you have a favorite guy in this draft.
Well, I'm going to take the easy way out and pick 2 first rounders.
Okay.
Ashton Jeanty is incredible. That guy is a special talent. And again, that position, I think, is the value of that running back position has changed so much over the last few years, where I think you can find a couple of 4th and 5th round guys to come in and do the job and rush for 1,000 yards and get 16, 17 carries a game. But he reminds me of Christian McCaffrey. His patience, the way he sets up blocks, he uses his linemen and uses his kind of angles to help his linemen set the blocks and explode through it. He's tough. His yards after contact, he can block, he can catch. That's my NFL comparison. He's a lot of fun. And Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, he's a big time player. I think he's a guy that I really liked Brock Bowers last year. Wasn't shocked to see him have one of the most productive rookie seasons of any wide receiver / tight end in NFL history. But watching what he did in college, his skill set, I think, translated very well. I think Tyler Warren's a similar type player.
There's a couple guys I really, really like. I really like Chandler Martin, a linebacker from Memphis, and I really like Eugene Asante, a linebacker from Auburn. And they're both kind of this modern linebacker, which is the linebacking position's changed. It's like used to be 250, 260 in the neck roll and Matt Millen. And now that guy's playing guard. I mean, now it's like the linebacker of today looks like the safety of yesteryear.
Fred Warner.
And I mean, and Chandler Martin's 6 feet 230, and he's just a great player across the board. I mean, he's an alpha. He's a true alpha. And Eugene Asante is another guy. Is in that smaller mold. He's not a big bodied guy. He's a smaller bodied guy, but these guys are, this is the game. This is the game in 2025. Eugene Asante's 6 feet, 222 pounds. But in maybe 20 years ago, that's way too small. But now that plays.
Yeah. And I need a do-over. I called him Travis Henry earlier. Travis Hunter. That's been as fun a tape to break down as I've had in a while. Like he is so good and so explosive, and I mean, anything you need him to do, he does. It's run after the catch. He catches the screen and goes for 60. He runs by people down the field. He makes incredible circus catches. He runs over people. He goes from 0 to 6, like 0 to top speed in 3 steps. He is, I think, a very rare talent. Another guy I played with, Champ Bailey.
Yeah,
Champ Bailey would have been a Pro Bowl wide receiver if they let him play wide receiver. He would screw around in practice and absolutely cook our corners when I was a rookie. By the way, those corners were Darrell Green and Deion Sanders. But when he was running routes, he was our best wide receiver. And so I think that type of talent is rare. I think he has a chance to be a special player on both sides of the ball. I think that will be a fascinating thing to see. Number one, the team that drafts him might be Cleveland. But number two, how do they use him? It's hard to play both ways. It's a long NFL season, but I think he has a chance to be a difference maker, a special player at both positions. So how do they leverage him in his time?
I always, when time goes by, I always lose connection with exactly who played with who and when. It's like the ex-players, there's all kinds of different eras. Once you get to a certain age, they all start to blend together. Did you play? You played after Delta O'Neal, correct?
No, we were the same year.
Same year. Okay. So to me, Noel Williams reminds me a lot of Delta O'Neal, just from the standpoint of he's got crazy ball skills and the ball finds him. He finds the ball. The 2 things I love in a corner, somebody who will come up and just, they mean business against the run, and they will rally up and just hurl their body at the receiver or running back, and real aggressive run support, and guys who get their hands on a lot of footballs. And Noel Williams is both, and he reminds me an awful lot of Delta O'Neal. What do you think of Noel from Cal?
Yeah, I agree. I think the underrated part of the corners are the guys that can come up and do run support. And the old Deion Sanders thing, they don't pay me to tackle. Not that he couldn't do it, he just preferred not to. But I think the tough corners who can come up and be a run stuffer and cover 2 or make those tough plays, that the tackles in space are almost all of those guys can cover. It's the guys who can make the sure tackle in space is what separates a really good corner from being a next level corner.
Todd, always good to wrap with you. We could do it for hours. We'll do it again. Thanks for jumping on. Have a great call on Thursday night with Greg and JD, and we'll be listening.
Looking forward to it.
The great Todd Husak. We're going to continue with more. It's the 49er NFL Draft Preview Show on The Sports Leader.